Good morning. If I can have your attention, please take your seats. We will begin our ceremony in 5 minutes.
Welcome everyone to the 2025 Vanderbilt Graduate School Diploma and Hooding Ceremony. You may be seated. I am Andre Christie Mizell, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Dean of the Graduate School. I am so glad to be here with you today, celebrating all that you have accomplished. Congratulations, graduates. You have made a real impact on our Vanderbilt community, and today is a singular day in your academic journey. This moment represents years of dedication, late nights, early mornings, and countless sacrifices. Today, we celebrate your accomplishments and reflect on the transformative power of higher education. The path you have taken has been about growth, perseverance, and pursuing new knowledge. Curiosity has been a driving force throughout your graduate studies, fueling your research, pushing you to ask hard questions, and leading you to explore the unknown. Today marks the culmination of your hard work and signifies the beginning of the great opportunities that lie ahead. As a first-generation college student, I understand the weight of this accomplishment. I grew up on a farm in rural North Georgia in a family that deeply valued education, even though my parents did not attend college. My siblings and I, there were 4 of us all together, Jason, Monica, Charlie, and me. We were the first in our family to attend college, and 2 of us ultimately earned PhDs. My journey was not always easy. Like many first-gen students, I faced moments of self-doubt and some tough challenges. But stronger than those feelings, I mustered resilience, curiosity, and I hope I could honor the sacrifices made by my family. These experiences shaped who I am today and instilled in me the importance of education as a transformative force. Thinking back to my own PhD graduation ceremony, I vividly remember feeling both anxiety and uncertainty, as well as excitement for the expansiveness of opportunities that the future might hold. My educational pathway has changed the course of my life. It expanded my worldview, challenged my assumptions, and empowered me to become a lifelong learner. Completing your degree is more than a personal milestone. You have proven that you can overcome challenges and seize the opportunities that come your way. The completion of your degree is something to be proud of, not just today, but for the rest of your life. But let me pause and broaden the perspective for a moment. The promise of higher education is not just about personal advancement. It is about creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your own individual successes. It is about the power to understand the world more deeply, engage with complex problems, and contribute meaningfully to society. Graduate education equips you to advance research, drive innovation, and lead with vision and impact. The skills you have honed here at Vanderbilt have prepared you to navigate and shape the future of your field and our world. As you have heard me say many times, the Graduate School is committed to supporting you as both scholars and human beings. During your training, you have intensely focused on the quest to pursue new ways of seeing and shaping the world. As emerging leaders and scholars, you are poised to drive change, inspire progress, and address the most difficult challenges of our time. But I want to remind each of you that you're human beings first. Your scholarship is an important part of your life's work and contribution to the greater good, but so are your relationships, your family, your friends, and your community. Before we move forward to honor and celebrate each of you as you walk across the stage, I want to acknowledge those who have helped and worked with you to make this day a reality. 419 of you will be graduating here today, but look around you. This tent is full of people who have supported you in getting to this point. I want to recognize your faculty mentors and advisors for their commitment to guiding you toward making your own scholarly, independent contributions. From multiple readings of theses and dissertations to offering guidance as you prepared for job interviews, these mentors care deeply about you and your success. I am grateful for your other academic colleagues, peers, and friends who who provided a support structure that enabled you to persist and be successful. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, I appreciate your families who made sacrifices of their own to support you on your educational journeys. Their pride, love, support, and steady belief in your potential have allowed you to reach new heights, not just today, but in the months and years leading up to this moment. As we reflect on all that you have achieved, it is clear that the transformational promise of higher education lives on in the values and principles you carry with you beyond today's celebration. The ideals of community, resilience, and curiosity have guided you to this moment, and they will continue to shape your journey as you build a meaningful life and contribute to a better world. As a sociologist by training, I cannot resist sharing a bit from my own field of study. W.E.B. Du Bois, one of the most well-known scholars of the 20th century, taught us that identity is not singular. In his concept of double consciousness, Du Bois described the inner struggle of navigating multiple cultural worlds. This can create a feeling of tension, but it can also be a powerful source of resilience. When we learn to see the world more than one way, we grow. We learn new ways of being, learning, and cooperating. And it gives us a deeper understanding of the importance of community. Community, of course, is about more than proximity. It is about connection, support, and understanding. In higher education, we build communities of scholars and researchers who push others to achieve more, who celebrate each other's successes, and who lift up others during challenges. These connections will carry you far beyond Vanderbilt, shaping your career, strengthening your network, and creating lifelong friendships. I have witnessed the powerful impact of community firsthand in many of our students. One student I mentored, Jordan, now a first-year assistant professor at Tufts University, found strength not from a single mentor, but from many. Jordan had a whole team behind him, faculty, peers, collaborators, cheering him on and helping him grow. He co-authored papers with me, as well as 2 other faculty members. It was not just about the research, though. It was about the practice of collaboration and the value of listening to various perspectives. Ryan, another former student and 4th-year assistant professor at the University of Connecticut now, is already an award-winning teacher and mentor. When I asked him how he had already accomplished the successes in the realms of teaching and mentoring that, quite frankly, took me many years to achieve, he responded, "I'm just doing what you do. I care for students the way you cared for me, and I connect them with other faculty who can also help." That, to me, is not only high praise for what we do here at Vanderbilt, but is also the essence of mentorship. When care and encouragement are passed forward and multiplied. Some of our students have faced challenges beyond the lab or classroom. Another one of my students cared for a family member battling with cancer while finishing her degree. She later shared with me how it was her academic community who held her up and offered encouragement when motivation was hard to come by. That is the kind of community we have built at Vanderbilt and that we strive to strengthen and grow. And in each of these stories, we see the same truth. Small acts of kindness, mentorship, and encouragement can create lasting ripples. These actions can transform lives and even begin to change entire communities. I hope you will never underestimate the significance of these small actions. In your careers, you will encounter opportunities to make a difference in ways that may seem minor, but could have a profound impact. A kind word, a thoughtful critique, or a gesture of support can change the trajectory of someone's life. To understand the power of education, we have to look beyond individual achievement. We must see ourselves within a larger context. I want to share with you another concept from the sociological canon, referred to as the sociological imagination. It is the idea that what feels personal, our struggles, our triumphs, is often a reflection of broader societal issues. The struggles and triumphs we experience as individuals are intertwined with the social structures and historical moments in which we live. I believe this simple awareness is profound. Seeing the connection between our individual lives and broader societal patterns gives us insight, empathy, and perspective. It enables us to understand that our personal successes are not achieved in isolation, and to understand that our challenges are not purely due to personal shortcomings. Instead, we are shaped by the communities in which we inhabit and by the world around us. I believe this perspective embodies the purpose of higher education, to equip us with specialized, discipline-specific knowledge and with the critical thinking skills needed to understand complex systems, address inequity. What really makes marriage good for our health is the quality of the relationship itself, the emotional and social support it offers, and the way it is supported by the community around it. Social roles are not inherently protective. What really matters is how we choose to live out that role and what we believe it represents. In the same spirit, the degree you are receiving today does not hold meaning merely because of the letters it adds after your name. Its significance comes from what it represents to you. Years of effort, persistence, the pursuit of knowledge, and your contribution to your field. What gives your education power is how you choose to live it out. The role of scholar, mentor, and teacher are not just titles. They are opportunities to shape the world, to bring meaning to your work. This is the higher calling of graduate education, not only to produce new knowledge, but to equip you to ask harder questions and lead with purpose. At Vanderbilt, we have challenged you to think deeply, ask difficult questions, and embrace complexity. We have prepared you to navigate uncertainty with resilience and to view problems not just as obstacles, but as opportunities for innovation and leadership. Just like the sociological imagination helps us to see our place within a bigger social picture, your education gives you the tools to view your work as part of something larger. It is not just about personal success. It is about contributing to a mission that reaches beyond yourself and leaves a meaningful mark on the world. As you go forward, I urge you to keep this perspective. Remember that the work you do matters, not only for your career, but for the communities and societies you will touch. Embrace the transformative power of education, using it to illuminate pathways for others and to address the most pressing challenges of our time. You are now equipped to be change agents, critical thinkers, and compassionate leaders, ready to create a ripple effect that inspires and empowers others. As we honor your achievements today, I want to offer you a challenge, one that can shape not only your career, but also your entire life. Stay curious. The value of your Vanderbilt education is not measured solely by degrees or accolades, but by the habits of mind you have developed during the course of your studies. Curiosity, critical thinking, and hopefully a lifelong love of learning. These traits are essential tools for navigating a complex, ever-changing world. Stay curious. Curiosity is a powerful force. It drives innovation, fuels discovery, and transforms ideas into action. But it is also a choice, a mindset you must commit to every day. So I challenge you to commit to practicing curiosity, ask questions, seek out new perspectives, challenge assumptions, including your own. I challenge you to push beyond your comfort zone and explore the unknown. Choose to stay curious. As you step into new roles, engage with new communities, and face new challenges, choose to be learners, not just experts. The best leaders are those who remain curious and recognize that wisdom comes from acknowledging how much there is still to learn. There's always more to learn, so stay curious. I challenge you to carry the spirit of inquiry into everything you do. Approach your careers, your communities, and your personal lives with a desire to understand. When faced with complex problems, let your innovative spirit drive you to discover new solutions. When confronted with opposing views, start by listening and learning. I know this will not always be easy. At times, the hustle of life may tempt you to settle into routine and to desire certainty. I hope you will resist that temptation and make staying curious a lifelong pursuit. If you can do this, your life will be enriched. The pursuit of knowledge is never finished. Stay curious. That is your challenge, and one I am confident you are ready to meet. Today, we celebrate the completion of your degrees and the culmination of years marked by determination, sacrifice, and learning how to relentlessly pursue knowledge. This moment shows your resilience, how you pushed through challenges, faced uncertainty, and grew in ways you perhaps never imagined. You completed theses and dissertations that future scholars will build upon in their own work. You have been a support system, lifting up others and celebrating each other's successes. You have made your mark on this university, and your contributions will continue to shape the future. As you venture forth from Vanderbilt, let curiosity be your compass. Ask questions, seek understanding, and create solutions. The ripple effect of your actions, however small, can transform communities, uplift others, and drive change. The world you are entering is filled with possibility. Use your education not only to advance your own goals, but to shape a better world, and remember that growth is a lifelong pursuit. Congratulations on your achievements. I am incredibly proud of you. As you carry the values of Vanderbilt with you, know that you are forever part of this community. You are ready to make a difference, and I am confident you will do great things. Thank you. As we begin the formal portion of today's celebration, I'd like to offer a few reminders about commencement etiquette to ensure a respectful and memorable experience for everyone involved. Today is a shared moment of achievement and recognition, not just for you, but for every graduate in this space. Out of consideration for your fellow graduates, their families, and our honored guests, we ask that you please remain in your seats for the duration of the ceremony. Even if you've already walked across the stage, your presence helps uphold the dignity of the event and shows respect for every accomplishment being celebrated today. We also ask that cell phones be silenced and that applause be held until after all degrees are awarded. Our goal is to make sure each graduate hears their own name clearly and feels fully honored. Thank you in advance for your courtesy and care. Let's begin the celebration in the spirit of unity, respect, and joy. Would the faculty marshals please bring forward the candidates for master's degrees?
Irisi Jishti, Economics. Allison Beth Basel, Medicine, Health, and Society. Jackin Stetler Buckaloo, Economics. Jening Cao, Economics. Nochan, Economics. Meredith Dalrymple, Economics. Kevin Jovan Davis, Medicine, Health, and Society. Roseris Noelia de la Rosa, Anthropology. Yuki Feng, Economics. Liu Huang, Medicine, Health, and Society. Sarah Quaja, Medicine, Health, and Society. Sophia Bernice Costuros, Medicine, Health, and Society. Mingyu Li, Economics. Xiaochen Liu, Economics. Margaret Louise O'Rourke, Medicine, Health, and Society. Irfan Paparidianat, Religion. Brina Ratanji, Medicine, Health, and Society. Amy Salakov, Medicine, Health, and Society. Emily Sky Schuler, Medicine, Health, and Society. Manur Tour, Economics. Laura Vaughn, Economics. Ziyang Wang, Economics. Yufan Zhai, Economics. Murad Aladinzadeh, Data Science. Naima Samreen Ali, Computer Science. Sparsh Rakesh Amarnani, Computer Science. Shreya Lakshmi Arora, Computer Science. Isabel Christina Arvelo, Data Science. Sarah Elizabeth Auk, Data Science. Joseph John Basile Jr., Computer Science.
Jennifer Baum, Biomedical Science.
Eleanor Doreen Beers, Data Science. Sunny Bhatt, Computer Science. Bryce Boyer, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Sydney Olivia Brown, Biomedical Sciences. Shelby Lynn Buettner, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Kai Zalai, Computer Science. Ling Fei Cao, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Hanlin Chen, Data Science. Meiyu Chen, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Celine Chen, Data Science. Axel Cho, Computer Science. Cooper Christian, Data Science. Nia Simone Crowley, Biomedical Sciences. Mabel Cummins, Biomedical Sciences. Zhengling Dai, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Nyla David, Biomedical Sciences. Kyle Davis, Computer Science. Lindsay Meredith Davison, Biomedical Sciences. Berkai Dean, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Diana Diaz, Biomedical Sciences. Yael Nuvera Iban, Chemistry. Heshwan Fan, Data Science. Jose Flores, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Pratyusha Gade, Computer Science. Yuze Gao, Computer Science. Chinwe Ge, Computer Science. Teresa J. Gervais, Biomedical Sciences. Adam James Gibbons, Computer Science. Trinity Gordon, Biomedical Sciences. Siva Sai Chaitanya Gudari, Electrical Engineering. Xiuan Guo, Data Science. Yizhu Guo, Computer Science. Vaibhav Gupta, Computer Science. Vaibhav Gupta, Data Science. Lucas Levi Guy, Biomedical Sciences. Tanvi Anand Hadgaonkar, Computer Science. Reed Canterbury Hall, Computer Science. Trong Thu Huang, Data Science. Xinyu Ho, Data Science. Amal Yasin Kanakri, Biomedical Sciences. Megan Keating, Biomedical Sciences. Agrima Khanna, Computer Science. Srenit Khat, Computer Science. Kyung Kim, Mechanical Engineering. Min Ji Kim, Data Science. Revanth Rudra Rohan Kola, Computer Science. Xiaohan Kuang, Data Science. Aparna Kupa, Computer Science. Canon Andrew Lafont, Biomedical Sciences. Tianhui Lai, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Ruiking Lan, Computer Science. Ryan Levy, Computer Science. Hongyue Lee, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Jiahong Lee, Computer Science. Yuaning Li, Computer Science.
Zihan Li, Cognitive Psychology and Context.
Kecheng Liu, Data Science. Zhenyu Liu, Computer Science. Yitian Long, Data Science. Siki Lu, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Xu Luo, Cognitive Psychology in Context.
Xiaotong Ma, Data Science.
Lauren Kaylee Manas, Data Science. Hannah Grace Mason, Computer Science. Hunter Cade Mast, Computer Science. Alyssa McDowell, Biomedical Sciences. Chenyu Miao, Data Science. Joshua Lawrence Morgan, Computer Science. Zinan Mu, Computer Science. Jessica Ray Musselman, Biomedical Sciences. Srikanth Narayanan, Computer Science. Ananya Nimbalkar, Data Science. Cassandra Nicole Nunez, Electrical Engineering. Jean Bosco Nzeyimana, Computer Science. Arpit Ojha, Computer Science. Yiming Pan, Computer Science. Shreyank Sunil Patel, Computer Science. Subarchala Sai Nandini Pisapati, Data Science.
Kun Peng, Computer Science.
Nicholas Pottiger, Computer Science.
Ian Noah Prosser, Cognitive Psychology and Context. Sarvik Kadir, Computer Science. Tanhao Q, Data Science.
Stephen Alvin Reese, Computer Science. Caroline Piper Rinks, Computer Science. Gautam S. Singha, Computer Science. Sankhya Sivakumar, Data Science. Sylvia J. Young Sun, Computer Science. Sushil Shrikant, Data Science. Alexander Lawrence Stanga, Computer Science. Tessora Stefan, Data Science. Jack Swiney, Computer Science.
Mamitha Reddy Tomasetti, Computer Science.
Gwendolyn Caroline Thompson, Data Science. Brian Russell Tawneys, Computer Science. Aryan Upadhyay, Data Science. Sandhya Venkataramaya, Computer Science. Alexandra Michelle Wallery, Biomedical Sciences. Siwen Wang, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Xin Wang, Computer Science. Hannah Elizabeth Wolfe, Earth and Environmental Sciences. Wu Hui Wu, Data Science. Yushan Xie, Computer Science. Zining Xing, Cognitive Psychology in Context.
Siyu Yang, Data Science.
Run Shun Yu, Computer Science. Jialin Yue, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Shuhui Zhan, Data Science. Xinyi Zhang, Data Science. Yuhao Zhang, Data Science. Chong Chao, Data Science. Huijia Zhang, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Yu Zhou, Cognitive Psychology in Context. Yanfan Zhu, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Alexei Alexander Skoutnev, Computer Science. John Fretz Becker, Master Liberal Arts and Science. Cara Christina Jones, Master Liberal Arts and Science. Christopher Davis, Engineering Management. Annie Benson, Engineering in Surgery and Intervention. Andrew Boland, Engineering Management. Lucio Axel Cruz Nolasco, Engineering in Surgery and Intervention. Edwin Osei Dankwa, Civil Engineering. Lenin Dontuboina, Engineering Management. Joshua Fulmer Sperry, Engineering Management. Raj Vishnu Gajre, Civil Engineering. Hannah Kaplan, Engineering Management. Kamran Kirmani, Engineering Management. Aaron Corbel, Engineering Management. Milton Lascano, Civil Engineering. Jose Macias, Engineering Management. Sabrina Malik, Engineering Management. Robert Nelson, Engineering Management. Puchis Panit Pochaman, Engineering in Surgery and Intervention.
Sanya Prakash, Civil Engineering.
Kamalesh Saminathan, Civil Engineering.
Lisa Shoth, Mechanical Engineering. Paul Stuckey, Engineering Management.
Aditya Rohidas Wag, Civil Engineering.
Christina Uwakim, Engineering in Surgery and Intervention. Chunan Zong, Civil Engineering. Please join me in congratulating all of our master's degree graduates.
Would the faculty marshals please bring forward the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy degree? Again, we ask you to hold your applause, or not, but hold your applause until the end so that we can hear each candidate's name clearly. Please remain seated until all degrees are conferred.
Dr. Logan Alexander Northcutt, Cancer Biology. Matrix rigidity influences breast cancer cell behavior in bone marrow-like microenvironments. Accompanied today by Professor Julie Rhodes and Professor Marjan Rafat.
Vera Marie Borkowski, Nursing Science. Informatics resources for social determinants of health in school-based health centers, accompanied by Professor Alvin Jeffrey and Professor Marianne Piano. Emma Clark, Nursing Science. Associations between midwifery, regulatory environments, and maternal health outcomes, accompanied by Professor Jeremy Neal.
Dr. Janine Yeager Stone, Nursing Science, using momentary assessment to measure insulin habit automaticity and factors associated with insulin adherence, accompanied today by Professor Sheila Mulvaney.
Amy Campbell, Nursing Science. The experiences of mothers feeding their autistic and neurotypical children during infancy, a qualitative study, accompanied by Professor Mulibrahan Mogos and Professor Julie Barroso.
Dr. Rebecca Morgan Goldberg Adler, Psychological Sciences, Students' Self-Regulated Learning in Mathematics, an examination of beliefs, monitoring, and control. Dr. Zainab Aga, Computer Science, co-designing and evaluating adolescent online safety nudges with teens. Accompanied today by Professor Tara Akkard and Professor Pamela Wisniewski. Dr. Ilan Z. Aronovich, Mechanical Engineering, Design, Modeling, and Control of Collaborative Robotics for Subretinal Injection and Mechanisms for Micromotion, accompanied today by Professor Nabil Siman. Dr. Mamtaj Akhter, Computer Science, Leveraging Community Oversight to Promote Mobile Privacy and Security Within Trusted Communities, accompanied today by Professor Pamela Wisniewski and Professor Yu Huang. Dr. Allegra Skye Anderson, Psychological Sciences, Parental Depression Symptoms, Physiological Reactivity and Parenting Behaviors, Associations with Youth Psychopathology, accompanied today by Professor Bruce Compass. Dr. Noah Samuel Austin, Physics, a combined analysis of the reactor antineutrino anomaly, experiments in search of a sterile neutrino, accompanied today by Professor Kevin Stassen and Professor Erica Austin. Dr. Krista Ann Marie Bagg, Health Policy and Services Research, Value-Based Insurance Design, an evaluation of insulin cost-sharing caps. Dr. Anna Gabriela Barnes Promise. History. Now that I am so miserable. Experiences and representations of old age in 16th century Germany. Accompanied today by Professor Joel Harrington. Dr. Jordan Sanner Barr, Biological Sciences. Warmer temperature and aging interact to shape how mosquitoes survive and respond to infection. Accompanied today by Professor Julian Hillier. Dr. Tierney Blue Baum, Cell and Developmental Biology. Understanding the effects of DRP1 patient mutations on synaptic maturation of cortical neurons. Accompanied today by Professor Vivian Gamma. Dr. Thomas Alexander Bermudez, Microbe-Host Interactions. Population colonization dynamics in urinary tract infection. Accompanied today by Professor Mariana Bindloss. Dr. Aaron Linan Bratu, Electrical Engineering. Models of neural activation for patient-specific cochlear implant programming. Accompanied today by Professor Jack Noble. Dr. Elizabeth Brokamp, Human Genetics. Leveraging large-scale biobank data to investigate the landscape of congenital anomalies and to discover their genetic risk factors. Accompanied today by Professor Nancy Cox and Professor Megan Shuey. Dr. Kaylee Noel Bryant, Microbe-Host Interactions. Protein-protein interactions required for CAG-A recruitment and secretion by the Helicobacter pylori CAG type 4 secretion system. Accompanied today by Professor Timothy Cover. Dr. Rebecca Buchanan, Neuroscience. Manganese exposure disrupts glutamatergic function and alters electroencephalogram phenotypes. Relevance to Alzheimer's disease. Accompanied today by Professor Fiona Harrison. Dr. Kennedy Kara Bullock, Pharmacology. Enhancing triple-negative breast cancer response to immune checkpoint inhibitor therapy via targeted therapies. Accompanied today by Professor Ann Richmond. Dr. Andrew J. Burnside, Philosophy, Spinoza and Critical Theory. Accompanied today by Professor Edith Dobbs Weinstein. Dr. Catherine Renee Butcher, Biochemistry, Integrative Analysis of the Molecular Mechanisms Governing LQTS in the KCNQ1 Potassium Channel. Dr. Mariah Danielle Caballero, Community Research and Action. Prioritizing rural communities for reasonably achievable emissions reductions. Accompanied today by Professor Yolanda McDonald. Dr. Julio Eduardo Caceres Gonzalez, Mathematics, Graph Planar Algebra Embeddings and New A Infinity Subfactors. Dr. Chao Chuen Tsai, Computer Science, Large-Scale Semantic Trajectory Analysis and Applications, accompanied today by Professor Dan Lin. Dr. Robert Edward Kennedy, Electrical Engineering, Adversarially Robust Machine Learning Approaches for Edge-Based Applications, accompanied today by Professor Aniruddha Gokhale.
Dr. Brock Michael Carlson, Psychological Sciences, Binocular Population Responses in the Early Visual System, accompanied by Professor Alexander Mayer.
Dr. Darian Thomas Carroll, Molecular Physiology and Biophysics, the influence of maternal diet and metformin intake on beta cell physiology in non-human primate offspring, accompanied today by Professor Maureen Gannon. Dr. Ju-Young Cha, Economics, Essays on High-Dimensional Econometrics without Sparsity and Bounds on Standard Errors, accompanied today by Professor Yuya Sasaki. Dr. Yvonne Chen, Sociology, Facilitation or Hindrance, the Role of Social Support in Asians and Asian Americans' Pathways to Mental Health Care, accompanied today by Professor Lee-Jin Song. Dr. Che-Yun Cho, Political Science, 3 Essays on Economic Sanctions, accompanied today by Professor Brett Benson. Dr. Najali Amoy Chung, Chemistry, Mass Spectrometry-Based Approaches to Improve Small Molecule Annotation and Analysis, accompanied today by Professor Rena Robinson and Professor John McLean.
Dr. Scott Criswell, Electrical Engineering, Nanoscale Spectroscopy of Semiconductor Defects, accompanied by Professor Joshua Caldwell and Professor Jason Valentine.
Dr. Jeanette Marie Critchlow, Microbe Host Interactions, Regulatory Mechanisms Governing Cell Wall Biogenesis in and Host Immune Modulation Against Acinetobacter baumannii, accompanied today by Professor Eric Scarr. Dr. Samuel A. Crowell, Economics, 3 Essays in Financial Economics and Economic History, accompanied today by Professor Peter Rousseau. Dr. Tyler Gregory Culp, Religion, Matthew's Parable of the Two Sons, Textual Confusion in the Manuscript Tradition. Dr. Kelly Ann Cunningham, Philosophy, Matters of Trust, accompanied today by Professor Diana B. Heaney. Dr. David A. Curie, Physics, Automated Analytical Investigations of Quantum Emission in Hexagonal Boron Nitride, accompanied today by Professor Richard Haglund.
Dr. Iwana Danchu, Biomedical Informatics, Predicting Mental Health Adverse Effects from Clinical Notes. Can AI Make a Difference? Accompanied by Professor Kim Nerdl.
Dr. Christian De Keistecker, Cell and Developmental Biology, a Physical Mechanism for Apical Protein Sorting, accompanied today by Professor Ian McCara. Dr. Marlena LaJoy Dubrow, Community research and action. Will the children be all right? Exploring the association of structural racism awareness and mental health outcomes of Black adolescents. Dr. Ruining Deng, Computer Science, Knowledge-Infused Efficient Learning for Computational Pathology, accompanied today by Professor Yuankai Huo. Dr. Carlos Ruben Detres Roman, Cancer Biology. Vaccination generates functional progenitor, tumor-specific CD8 T cells, and long-term tumor control. Accompanied today by Professor Rochelle Johnson.
Dr. Hounan Dong, Political Science. Essays on power shifts, information uncertainty, and international conflict.
Dr. Don Marcus Dixon, Astrophysics, rotationally driven activity of red giant stars in the UV, accompanied today by Professor Kevin Stassen. Dr. Casey Dunham Carr, Neuroscience, looking to and processing of audiovisual speech and links with language in autism, effects from infancy through adolescence, accompanied today by Professor Tiffany Wojnarowski.
Dr. Rachel Lynn Iman, Biomedical Engineering, software tools to enable 3D bladder reconstruction from clinical white light cystoscopy videos, accompanied by Professor Justin Baba.
Dr. Jared James Eisma, Chemical and Physical Biology, quantitative MRI to investigate central nervous system waste clearance in health and neurodegenerative disease. Dr. Salma Mohammed El Sharif, Civil Engineering, monitoring and control of quantity-quality dynamics for resilient drinking water networks. Dr. Melissa Joyce Evans, Psychological Sciences, the nature of memory for conversations, questions and organization. Dr. Yubo Fan, Computer Science, robust and reliable deep learning-based techniques for image-guided cochlear implant procedures, accompanied today by Professor Benoit DeWant. Dr. Eden Emery Faneuf, Microbe-Host Interactions, P10 and the regulation of macrophage antimicrobial effector functions, accompanied today by Professor Anna Salina and Professor Julia Bohannon. Dr. Zara Zoe Farabaksh, Neuroscience, kappa opioid receptor activity underlies individual differences in motivated behaviors, accompanied today by Professor Cody Siciliano. Dr. Jessica Feller, Neuroscience, the intersection between vestibular function and spatial memory in adults with chronic moderate severe traumatic brain injury, accompanied today by Professor Daniel Romero and Professor Melissa Duff.
Dr. Kelly Francis Finland, Community Research and Action, the means of value production, translating social causes into business concerns, accompanied by Professor Sarah Suter.
Dr. Chloe Olivia Frame, Chemical engineering. Insights into the barrier function of the stratum corneum lipid matrix using a multi-scale molecular simulation approach. Accompanied today by Professor André Christy Mazel. Dr. Nathan Emmanuel Frisch, Anthropology, Constructing Lives in Movement. Identity, Modernity, and Crisis in El Alto and La Paz, Bolivia. Accompanied today by Professor Carwill Bjork James. Dr. Margaret Helen Frost, Political Science, Examining Support for Law Enforcement in Militarized Contexts. Dr. Matthew Galazzo, Interdisciplinary Materials Science, Photosystem I Biohybrid Devices and Reduction Catalysts for CO2. Dr. Yuxiang Gao, Civil Engineering, Damage Mechanics-based Deep Learning Model Surrogates for Fracture Prediction and Inverse Design, accompanied today by Professor Ravindra Dudu. Dr. Francisco Javier Garcia Jr., Religion, Constructing an Iglesia Trabajadora del Pueblo, Lessons and Insights from the Faithful Labor Organizing of Latin Immigrant Workers, accompanied today by Professor Brian Christens. Dr. Velia Garcia, Chemistry, Characterization of the Calcium-Mediated Tetramerization of Human Calprotectin, accompanied today by Professor Stephen Damo. Dr. Charles Grimes Garrity, Electrical Engineering, a brain-computer interface for decoding decisions during learning in a multidimensional environment. Dr. Melanie Gill, Neuroscience, investigating the function of MCL1 during oligodendrocyte development, accompanied today by Professor Vivian Gama. Dr. Sarah Elizabeth Glass, Cell and Developmental Biology, Dipeptidase 1, an old protein with new roles in shaping the tumor microenvironment and impacting progression in colorectal cancer, accompanied today by Professor Robert Coffey. Dr. Diana Kim Graves, Molecular Pathology and Immunology, Immunostimulatory head and neck cancer-associated fibroblasts promote T-cell activation via prostaglandin E2 and predict immunotherapy response, accompanied today by Professor Paula Hurley and Professor Hong Yuan Wong. Dr. Hamilton David Green, Microbe-host interactions, pathways to heterogeneity in uropathogenic Escherichia coli, accompanied today by Professor Jonathan Schmitz and Professor Maria Hadjifrancisco. Dr. Samantha Lynn Grimes, Microbe-host interactions, the coronavirus helicase and exoribonuclease in viral replication and fitness, accompanied today by Professor Mark Dennison. Dr. Lindsay Nicole Guerin, Biochemistry, investigating DNA methylation and chromatin accessibility dynamics during cell fate specification, accompanied today by Professor Emily Hodges. Dr. George Leon Gunter, Civil Engineering, Formal Safety and Cybersecurity in Mixed Autonomy Traffic, accompanied today by Professor Daniel Work. Dr. Sarah Elizabeth Hageman, English. The Post-Confessional Mode, Parodic Psychiatry in Feminist Literature and Performance, accompanied today by Professor Jay Clayton and Professor Candace Amage. Dr. Bridget Gabrielle Hall, Religion, Navigating Rough Waters, Toward a Generative Ethics of Care in Child Advocacy and Ella J. Baker's Praxis of Social Change, accompanied today by Professor Victor Anderson. Dr. Spencer Cameron Hall, Political Science, Polity and Politics, How the Structures of Religious Organizations Influences Political Behaviors, accompanied today by Professor David Lewis. Dr. Ebony Lorene Hargrove Wiley, Cancer Biology, Sex-Specific Immune Responses and Immunomodulatory Pathways in Breast Cancer, accompanied today by Professor Barbara Fingleton. Dr. Megan Harkema, Environmental Engineering, Development and Demonstration of a Risk-Informed Molten Salt Sampling System for Molten Salt Reactors. Dr. Michaela Yoriko Harris, Learning, Teaching, and Diversity, We Rise Over Run, Exploring Life Histories of Black Women Secondary Mathematics Teachers, accompanied today by Professor Nicole Joseph. Dr. Heather Hartman, Molecular Pathology and Immunology, Intrinsic and Environmental Drivers of Thyroid Cancer, accompanied today by Professor Vivian Weiss. Dr. Kyle Hawkins, Physics, The Development of a Robust Framework to Unlock the Full Potential of Explicit pH Modeling, an exploration into simulating pH within a mathematical optimization framework, accompanied today by Professor John Wixwow. Dr. James Brian Hayes Jr., Cell and Developmental Biology, From Adhesions to Z-Discs, Regulation at the cardiac sarcomere by distinct paralogs of alpha-actinin and myosin II, accompanied today by Professor Dylan Burnett. Dr. Darren Ross Heinzman, Molecular Pathology and Immunology, Subset-Specific Mitochondrial Stress and DNA Damage-Shaped T-Cell Responses to Fever and Inflammation. Dr. Miguel Ángel Herranz Cano, Spanish, Tumbas, Conventos y Museos, Las columnas periodísticas del imaginario arquitectónico de la Nación Española, 1891-1909, accompanied today by Professor Andrés Zamora. Dr. Todd Ryan Hertling, Political Science, The Politics of Military Deployments.
Dr. Nguyen Wan, Computer Science, Integrating Neuroimaging and Multiomics to Advance Studies of Individual Variation in Human Brain Organization, accompanied by Professor Doug Fisher.
Dr. Joseph Matthew Holden, Neuroscience, Retinal Astrocyte Morphology and Physiology in Naive and Diseased Mice, accompanied today by Professor Lauren Wareham. Dr. Clinton Malone Holt, Chemical and Physical Biology, Computation-Driven Development of Next-Generation Viral Vaccines and Antibody Therapeutics, accompanied today by Professor Evelyn Georgiev. Dr. Amanda Cecilia Hoa, Epidemiology, Influenza and COVID-19 Symptom Burden and Trajectory, Observations from Household Transmission Studies.
Dr. Mirazul Islam, Cell and Developmental Biology, Recording Mammalian Development, Regeneration, and Tumorigenesis at Single-Cell Resolution, accompanied by Professor Robert Coffey.
Dr. Devin Cruz Jean, Computer Science, designing tools to support advanced computing topics in K-12 classrooms, accompanied today by Professor Akos Ledetzi. Dr. Mariana Jimenez, Neuroscience, Navigating the Cell, Novel Transport Pathways for P4 ATPases. Dr. Madeline M. Johnson, Chemical Engineering, Direct Observation of Bidirectional Motility by the telobiohydrolase TFCL6B. Dr. Kaidi Kang, Biostatistics, a Unified Effect Size Index and its application to improve replicability in brain behavior association studies. Dr. Lara Rice Kelly, Environmental Engineering, Assessment of Mercury Leaching Under Disposal Scenarios for Contaminated Demolition Debris and Treated Elemental Mercury, accompanied today by Professor David Cawson and Professor Andrew Garabrants.
Dr. Margaret Cook Kelly, Spanish, Future Environments of 21st Century Latin American Fiction.
Dr. Mohammad Mahmudur Rahman Khan, Electrical Engineering, Analysis of Patient-Customized Electrode Array Insertion Techniques in Cochlear Implant Surgery. Dr. Daniel Kim, Hearing and Speech Sciences, Heterogeneity of Dysarthria in Parkinson's Disease, a Perceptual Perspective, accompanied today by Professor Antje Mefford. Dr. Minsu Kim, Chemical and Physical Biology, CFTR protein interactome mapping and off-target identification of pharmacological corrector by mass spectrometry, accompanied today by Professor Lars Plate. Dr. Wulia Kim, Special Education, Assessing and Decomposing Treatment Effect Variation of a Reading Intervention for Struggling Readers, accompanied today by Professor Jessica Logan. Dr. Jessica Hutchison Kaiser, Economics, Essays in Health Economics, Maternal and Infant Health, accompanied today by Professor Michelle Marcus and Professor David Reeb. Dr. Gregory John Konar Jr., Biological Sciences, Characterization of Senescence and SASP in Zebrafish Retina Regeneration, accompanied today by Professor James Patton and Professor Tonya Rex. Dr. David Cartmel Kuhlman, Chemistry, Advancing Integration of Multidimensional Separations and High-Resolution Ion Mobility to benefit untargeted small molecule analyses for clinical and biological applications, accompanied today by Professor John McLean. Dr. Elena Rosa Kovalik, Interdisciplinary Materials Science, Electrochemically Actuated Metasurfaces for Low-Powered Nanophotonic and Energy Storage Devices, accompanied today by Professor Jason Valentine. Dr. Dennis Lee, Health Policy and Services Research, Mechanisms to Increase Buprenorphine Access, accompanied today by Professor John Graves and Professor Carrie Fry. Dr. Joanne Lee, Biomedical Engineering, Engineering Synthetically Programmed Cells for Activation with Orthogonal and Native Ligands for Regenerative Medicine, accompanied today by Professor Jonathan Brunger. Dr. Sarah Jaewon Lee, Learning, Teaching, and Diversity, Disruptive STEM Literacy with Multilingual Immigrant Children and Youth, accompanied today by Professor Noel Enyedi. Dr. Chek Lee, Special Education, Evaluating the Efficacy and Feasibility of a School-Home Communication Intervention among Families of Children with Autism, accompanied today by Professor Megan Burke. Dr. Hao Lee, Electrical Engineering, From Data-Driven to Data-Centric Medical Image Segmentation, accompanied today by Professor Ipek Oguz. Dr. Jia Tong Li, Economics, Essays on Big Data and High-Dimensional Models, Machine Learning Approaches in Econometrics, accompanied today by Professor Yuya Sasaki. Dr. Xin Li, Electrical Engineering, Irradiation and Biased Stress-Induced Defects and Gate Leakage in GaN-Based HEMTs, accompanied today by Professor Engxia Zhang and Professor Daniel Fleetwood. Dr. Han Liu, Computer Science, Robust and Flexible Deep Learning Models with Incomplete Medical Image Datasets. Dr. Quan Liu, Computer Science, Efficient Representation Learning for Optical Image Analysis, accompanied today by Professor Yuankai Huo. Dr. Yunchao Liu, Computer Science, Geometric Deep Learning in Drug Discovery, accompanied today by Professor Jens Mieler and Professor Tyler Deer. Dr. Alejandro Llorente Esteban, Molecular Physiology and Biophysics, Structural and Functional Insights into Na+I Symporter, NIS, Transport Mechanisms and their implications for NIS-mediated internal radiation therapy, accompanied today by Professor Nancy Carrasco. Dr. Ange Liu, Electrical Engineering, Deep Learning-Based 3D Surgical Scene Understanding for Cochlear Implant Surgery, accompanied today by Professor Jack Noble. Dr. William Ryan Lowery, Chemistry, Development of Improved Electron Transfer Materials in Bioelectrochemical Systems, accompanied today by Professor David Cliffel. Dr. Sophia Lubarsky, Psychological Sciences, Social Support in a Digital Age, a re-examination of the buffering and main effect models of social support, accompanied today by Professor David Cole. Dr. Reese Alexander Martin, Biological Sciences, Immune Pleiotropy, its costs, benefits, and evolutionarily favorable conditions. Dr. Madison Lee Mason, Psychological Sciences, Transforming Experiences into Expertise, Leveraging Event Cognition to Support Self-Regulation in a Practical Learning System. Dr. Sophie E. McGinnis, Leadership and Policy Studies, Schools, Careers, and Economies. Dr. Cara McNamara, Cancer Biology, Investigating the Regulation of Polyamine Metabolism during Gastrointestinal Infection and its Impact on Inflammation and Carcinogenesis, accompanied today by Professor Keith Wilson. Dr. Menghan Mei, Biochemistry, Mechanisms of SARS-CoV-2, NSP1, Mediated Host mRNA Nuclear Export Inhibiton. Dr. Melissa Brandy Meisels, Political Science, Essays on Money and Campaigns in Congressional Elections, accompanied today by Professor Joshua Clinton. Dr. Haley Noel Mendoza Romero, Molecular Physiology and Biophysics, the role of microglia in the development of hypothalamic feeding circuits, accompanied today by Professor Richard Simmerly and Professor Carla Russo. Dr. Anna Helen Miller, Special Education, Intervention Fade-Out and Factors Influencing Growth in Early Mathematics Performance in a Sample of Low-Performing Pre-K Students, accompanied today by Professor Marcia Barnes. Dr. Jessica Lynn Moore, Biochemistry, the molecular basis underlying heme biosynthesis, dysfunction and disease originating from C-terminal mutations in aminolevulinic acid synthase, accompanied today by Professor Brian Brown. Dr. Grace Helen Morales, microbe-host interactions, leveraging strain diversity to predict host uropathogen dynamics, accompanied today by Professor Jonathan Schmitz and Professor Maria Hedgefrancisco.
Dr. Anna Gibson Moyer, Leadership and Policy Studies, Pathways to the Principalship in the Charter and Traditional Public School Context, Evidence from Texas and Michigan, accompanied by Professor Jason Grissom and Professor Joanne Golan.
Dr. Matthew A. Murrow, Physics, Models and Methods for the Computational Study of Human Decision-Making using Choice Response Time Data. Dr. Breton Philip Nabbit, Pharmacology, Deciphering the Role of mGlu8 in Thalamocortical Circuitry, Insights from Conditional Knockout Strategies, accompanied today by Professor Christina Keaton. Dr. Katerina Nabukotna, Biochemistry, Progress towards understanding the role of Clostridioides difficile transferase toxin in C. difficile-induced inflammation and pathogenesis, accompanied today by Professor Borden Lacey. Dr. Andrew Edward Naclario, Chemical Engineering, Synthesis and Characterization of Two-Dimensional Materials. Dr. Mohammed Nadeem, Civil Engineering, Control, Order Reduction and Identification of Nonlinear Differential Algebraic Models of Renewables Heavy Power Systems. Dr. Dalton J. Nelson, Biomedical Engineering, Detection of Single Nucleotide Polymorphisms in Resource-Constrained Settings, accompanied today by Professor Rick Hazelton. Dr. Hannah Marie Nelson, Biological Sciences, Functional transfer of miRNA promotes cancer cell growth and enhances invasiveness, accompanied today by Professor James Patton. Dr. Tyler John Nicewarner, Computer Science, Privacy Preservation in Pervasive Computing Environments, accompanied today by Professor Dan Lin. Dr. Laura Renee Nichols, Physics, Multiphonon Theory of Electronic Transitions at Defects in Semiconductors, Carrier Capture and Hydrogen Release, accompanied today by Professor Socrates Pantelades. Dr. Emily Ouyang No, Political Science, Civic Effects of Education Models, accompanied today by Professor Elizabeth Zeckmeister and Professor Noam Lupu. Dr. Ludwig Beethoven Jones Noya, Religion, Rest as a Site of Struggle, Reconsidering Sabbath Non-Transgression Narratives in the Hebrew Bible, accompanied today by Professor Herbert Marbury. Dr. Carla O'Neill, Biochemistry, the study of lens AQP0 protein and lipid interactions using advanced mass spectrometry methods, accompanied today by Professor Kevin Shea. Dr. Laura Fitz Parks, Learning, Teaching, and Diversity. Because at the end of the day, it's their school, centering student voice in restorative practices, accompanied today by Professor Dr. H. Richard Milner IV. Dr. Lucinda Esmeralda Pastora, Chemical Engineering, Inhibition of the C-gas sting pathway for the treatment of colitis and other inflammatory diseases, accompanied today by Professor John Wilson. Dr. Catherine Elizabeth Peters, Anthropology, Staying Rooted, the Care Ethics of Subsistence Farmers in Rural Paraguay, accompanied today by Professor Beth Conklin. Dr. Jared Phillips, Pharmacology, multi-omic characterization of astrocyte reactivity in Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Elisa Wolf-Piero, cancer biology, targeting TREM2 in postmenopausal breast cancer in obese and weight loss settings, accompanied today by Professor Alyssa Hasty.
Dr. Jessica Sarah Power, history, the occupation of Pensacola, slavery and sovereignty in the 19th century Gulf world, accompanied by Professor Nicole Himmer.
Dr. Natalie Annabelle Ray, learning, teaching, and diversity, Black feminist empiricism, an exploration of a Black woman's science engagement, accompanied today by Professor Jessica Watkins. Dr. Mariana Victoria Ramirez Bustamante, political science, public opinion dynamics around the illegal co-optation of power by narco-linked candidates and organizations, accompanied today by Professor Elizabeth Zechmeister. Dr. Leorimar Ramos Medina, neuroscience, characterization of dorsal hippocampal activity during extinction of contextual fear in endocannabinoid deficit states, accompanied today by Professor Christine Conradi. Dr. Tahsin Rayasat, electrical engineering, overcoming data scarcity challenges in medical deep learning, innovations and strategies. Dr. Jesse Taylor Noah Roberts, computer science, a theoretical and empirical analysis of transformer language model behavior, accompanied today by Professor Doug Fisher. Dr. Preston Kathleen Robinette, computer science, deep learning enabled methods for information hiding. Dr. Gabriel Jose Rodriguez Garcia, molecular pathology and immunology, cancer cell small molecule secretome, induces the immune checkpoint NKG2A and dysfunction of human CD8+ T cells, accompanied today by Professor Jeffrey Y. Rathmel. Dr. Maximilian Demetrios Rode, biostatistics, maximizing statistical efficiency in clinical trials, ordinal, longitudinal models, and two-phase designs. Dr. Zachary C. Sanchez, cell and developmental biology, mitochondria, fueling a novel extracellular vesicle and shaping the heart, accompanied today by Professor Dylan Burnett and Professor Brian Millis. Dr. Michael Stephen Sanborn, computer science, cross-abstraction artifacts to detect adverse manipulation, accompanied today by Professor Jules White and Professor Kevin Leach. Dr. Francisco Arturo Santelli, leadership and policy studies, making sense of school leadership hiring, 3 essays on school leadership supply, hiring, and placement, accompanied today by Professor Jason Grissom. Dr. Alexandra Scalici, human genetics, leveraging electronic health record-derived phenome to enhance genetic studies of common and rare disease, accompanied today by Professor Nancy Cox. Dr. Caitlin R. Schaff, microbe-host interactions, molecular mechanisms of damage to the alveolar microenvironment during influenza A infection, accompanied today by Professor Ciara Shaver and Professor Julie Bastarash. Dr. Taylor Elaine Scott, chemical engineering, in vitro modeling for three-dimensional imaging of the bone marrow, accompanied today by Professor Scott Guelcher. Dr. Jananwe Lanea Segehan, English, disrupting anthropocentrism through human and more than human engagement in Afro-descendant women's fiction. Dr. Taylor Lee Sheehy, biomedical engineering, STING activating polymer drug conjugates for cancer immunotherapy. Dr. Neil Vallabhbhai Shihora, Mechanical Engineering, Task-Based Design, Modeling and Telemanipulation Assistance of Dexterous Robotics for Confined Spaces and Remote Intervention, accompanied today by Professor Nabil Siman. Dr. Andrei Andreevich Schultz, Chemistry, Exploring Mechanisms Behind Phase Formations of Metal Chalcogenide Nanoparticles, accompanied today by Professor Janet MacDonald. Dr. Shelby Buno Schumard, Political Science, State Implementation of Federal Programs, Essays on the Effects of Electoral Incentives, Partisanship, and Special Interests on State Choices, accompanied today by Professor Charisse Thrower. Dr. Rachel Marie Sigmund, Learning, Teaching, and Diversity. Here for the Humor, Exploring the Role of Humor in Multilingual K-12 Settings, accompanied today by Professor Emily Phillips Galloway. Dr. Monisola Vaughn Smith, Sociology, Beyond the Racial Discipline Gap, The Collateral Consequences of School Suspension Among African American and Afro-Caribbean Adolescents, accompanied today by Professor Mariano Sana. Dr. Alexander Gustavo Soretz, Biomedical Engineering, Investigating Lipid siRNA Transport and Gene Silencing Activity in the Rodent Central Nervous System, accompanied today by Professor Ethan Lipman and Professor Craig Duvall. Dr. Paige Nicole Spencer, Cell and Developmental Biology, Molecular and Microenvironmental Drivers of Gastrointestinal Diseases, accompanied today by Professor Ian McCara and Professor Ken Lau. Dr. Amy Catherine Stark, Pharmacology, The Role of Prostanoid Signaling in Inflammatory Responses Relevant to Diabetic Retinopathy, accompanied today by Professor John Penn. Dr. Jessica Sarah Shonhut Stasik, Astrophysics, Things That Were, Things That Are, and Some Things That Have Not Yet Come to Pass. Investigations in galactic archaeology via astroseismology, spectroscopy, and astrometry of evolved stars to unlock the secrets of the Milky Way in the past, present, and future. Dr. Kaylee Crystal Steiner, Cancer Biology, Evaluating the Role of Lipid Metabolic Genes in CD4+ and CD8+ T cell function and metabolism, accompanied today by Professor Jeffrey Rathmel.
Dr. Victoria Renee Stevens, Molecular Pathology and Immunology, Endocrine Disrupting Chemicals, Investigating the Influence on Immunomodulation and Reproductive Health, accompanied by Professor Jennifer Gaddy.
Dr. Stuart David Storm, Physics, Quintessence Dark Energy and Cosmic String Gravitational Radiation, accompanied today by Professor Brenda Fabella Enriquez. Dr. Aubrey Marie Stricker, Cell and Developmental Biology, Mending the Matrix, Piezo initiates transient collagen factor production during basement membrane repair, accompanied today by Professor Andrea Page McCaw. Dr. Crisel Suarez, Physics, Diagnostics of Soft X-ray Emission from the Sun, Energetic Solar Flares and Gentle Quiescence, accompanied today by Professor Christopher Moore and Professor Kelly Holly Bockelman. Dr. Tianyi Sun, Biostatistics, Addressing Statistical Challenges in Implementing Real-World Evidence-Based Risk Prediction Models into EHR Systems, accompanied today by Professor Dandan Liu. Dr. Xiaopeng Sun, Cancer Biology, Biomarkers for Predicting Immunotherapy Response in Breast Cancer, accompanied today by Professor Justin Balco. Dr. Serena R. Sweet, Molecular Physiology and Biophysics, Developmental Programming of Hypothalamic Neural Circuits, Integrating Fluid and Energy Homeostasis. Dr. Lee Ann Tang, Biomedical Informatics, Predictive Modeling for Opioid-Related Overdose Prevention, towards safer opioid prescribing and guiding treatment selection for opioid use disorder. Dr. Wendy Cassandra Ellen Timmons, German, Crafting as Grafting, Investigating the Hybrid Aesthetics in Lotte Reiniger's Films, accompanied today by Professor Lutz Köpnick. Dr. Rehana Turger, Biological Sciences, NASP control of H3-H4 dynamics in the early embryo, accompanied today by Professor Jared Nordman. Dr. Molly Jean Andriana Todd, Special Education, Balancing Compliance with Self-Advocacy in Young Children, a Single-Case Intervention Evaluation, accompanied today by Professor Johanna Staubitz.
Dr. Ruben Torres Jr., Chemistry, Molecular Mechanisms of Mental Illness, Quantum Dot-Based Single Molecule Investigation of the Dopamine Transporter and its Protein Partners, accompanied by Professor Sandra Rosenthal.
Dr. Kai Toyosawa, Mathematics, Weak Exactness and Amalgamated Free Product of von Neumann Algebras, accompanied today by Professor Jesse Peterson. Dr. Jenny Tran, Biochemistry, Structural Investigation of ALA synthase reveals allosteric regulation, governed by protein dynamics, accompanied today by Professor Brian Brown. Dr. Min Ha Kan Tran, Chemical and Physical Biology, Characterization of Influenza Antibody-Antigen Complexes using Hydrogen Deuterium, Exchange Mass Spectrometry and Computational Modeling, accompanied today by Professor Jens Mahler and Professor Kevin Shea.
Dr. Robert Louis Truding, Biomedical Engineering, Neuromodulation of Cognitive Flexibility in the Frontal Striatal Network. Dr. Nathan Wayne Trimble, History, The Power to Invade, Armed Primacy and Congressional Conflict, 1977 to 1987, accompanied by Professor Thomas Schwartz.
Dr. Shengshin Tu, Biostatistics, Rank-Based Analyses and Designs with Clustered Data. Dr. Akshith Ulal, Electrical Engineering, Generation of Naturalistic Interactions for Large-Scale Avatar Telepresence in Mixed Reality, accompanied today by Professor Nilanjan Sarkar. Dr. Sabrina Xiaomei van Ravenstein, Biochemistry, Mechanisms of topoisomerases and topoisomerase poisons during vertebrate DNA replication. Dr. Caleb Michael Vitral, Computer Science, Design and Development of a Temporal Event Annotation Tool to support collaborative debriefing for nurse training, accompanied today by Professor Gautam Biswas. Dr. Aaron Sweeney Walczak, Special Education, Training Behavior Technicians to Foster Enriched Learning Contexts, accompanied today by Professor Jennifer Ledford. Dr. Bonnie Lee Walton, Biomedical Engineering, a synthetic receptor platform to engineer mesenchymal stromal cells for osteoarthritis detection and guided articular cartilage regenerative medicine, accompanied today by Professor Jonathan Brunger. Dr. Mandy Delaney Westland, microbe-host interactions, beyond vacuolation, Helicobacter pylori vaca toxin activity, in vitro and in vivo, accompanied today by Professor Timothy Cover. Dr. Yu Wang, computer science, data quality aware graph machine learning, accompanied today by Professor Tyler Derr. Dr. Bryant White, French, Dictées Amen Devotement, late medieval religious parody in context. Dr. Demond Williams, Cancer Biology, Type 2 interleukin-4 receptor activation in basal breast cancer cells promotes tumor progression, accompanied today by Professor Barbara Fingleton. Dr. Sarah Gale Whitehead Williams, Earth and Environmental Sciences, Particle Scale Diffusion during Rarefied Transport as a Probabilistic Mechanics Problem, accompanied today by Professor David Furbish and Professor Steve Goodbread. Dr. Sienna Antoinette Windsor, Special Education, Examining the Effects of Varying Responsive Interaction Strategies in Naturalistic Developmental Behavioral Interventions, accompanied today by Professor Jennifer Ledford. Dr. Olawunmi Winful, Anthropology, The Etiology of Inflammatory Responses, Exploring Biocultural Influences on Salivary C-reactive in African Diasporic Communities, accompanied today by Professor Jada Ben Torres. Dr. Zhangyan Yang, Biomedical Engineering, Advances in High-Resolution Functional MRI of Squirrel Monkey Brain at 9.4T MRI, accompanied today by Professor John Gore. Dr. Eric Brandon Wright, Biomedical Engineering, RSK2 in Homeostasis, accompanied today by Professor Deborah Lanigan. Dr. Kai-Shuen Xu, Chemistry, Electrochemical Investigation of Neurotransmitters for Environmental Toxins and Drug Development. Dr. Xiaoyu Yu, Biochemistry, Molecular Basis for Ligand Activation of NR4A-RXR, accompanied today by Professor Douglas Kojetin. Dr. Xin Yu, Computer Science, 3D, 2D representation learning for longitudinal analysis using single-slice CT scans, accompanied today by Professor Bennett Landman. Dr. Yuying Zhao, Computer Science, Learning Beyond Utility, Fairness, Explainability, and Diversity, accompanied today by Professor Tyler Derr. Dr. Amy Olivia Zheng, Chemical Engineering, Metabolic Engineering of Phaeodactylum tricornutum for triacylglycerol production, accompanied today by Professor Jamie Young. Dr. Hongray Wu, Physics, Modulating the Photophysical Properties of Erbium Oxide Single Crystal Thin Films through Ion Irradiation-Induced Defects, accompanied today by Professor Norman Tolk.
Dr. Ranjan Zhuang, Mathematics, the linearized Israel-Stewart equations with a physical vacuum boundary, accompanied by Professor Jesse Peterson.
Dr. Cheng-Cheng Zhou, Learning, Teaching, and Diversity. Journey Through Perspectives. Exploring the development of mainstream pre-service teachers' language ideologies and beliefs about multilingual learners. Accompanied today by Professor Emily Phillips Galloway and Professor David Dickinson. Dr. Xingyu Zhou, Biomedical Engineering. Developing and validating imaging techniques for accurate quantification of whole-body skeletal muscle architecture. Accompanied today by Professor Bruce Damon and Professor John Gore. Dr. Tian Zhu, Chemical Engineering. The role of extracellular matrix alterations induced by radiation therapy in modulating breast cancer recurrence. Accompanied today by Professor Marjan Rafat.
Dr. Khan Ku, Computer Science, Machine Learning for Multimodal Medical Data, accompanied today by Professor Yangku Ho and her father, Hylan Kao. Please join me in congratulating all of our PhD graduates.
Thank you. On behalf of the Graduate School, I'd like to thank the Brass Quintet, the faculty marshals, and the banner bearers. In addition, we'd like to recognize those who made this achievement possible in their own ways. Faculty and mentors have provided valuable guidance and training, and of course, we are grateful for family and friends who have supported and encouraged these students along the way. As we conclude today's ceremony, I want to offer my heartfelt congratulations once more to each of our graduates. This is a moment of transition, of crossing a threshold into what comes next. But before we send you off into that next chapter, we have just one more process to observe. In a moment, we will begin the recessional. I ask all graduates, please rise when directed and remain standing. Faculty marshals will come to your row and dismiss you in an orderly fashion. Please wait for their signal before exiting your row and follow the line out of the venue as directed. Guests, we kindly ask that you remain seated until all graduates and platform party members have exited the stage and aisles. Thank you all for being part of this day. Following the recessional, we invite all graduates and their families to join us for Bubbly and Berries receptions under the tent right next to the door. Please join me in one final round of applause to congratulate our graduates.